This is the Garmin Forerunner 165 Complete Beginner's Guide, the Complete Guide, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to walk through start to finish using this watch. I'm going to go through all of the basic features, all of the sports features, all of the bits like music and contactless payment, and plenty more over the next 30 to 40 minutes. Note that this video is different than my review. That's up in the corner up there where I talk about what's good and bad and things like accuracy and that kind of stuff, versus this is about giving you all like the pro tips to use in this watch. So with that, let's just simply dive right into it. The very first thing to know is the hardware. This is the watch right here, and on the side you'll see 3 buttons on this side, and then 2 more buttons on this side. But it also has a color touchscreen display. For example, I can swipe up like this, swipe down, I can select items, and so on. The key difference between something like this and their Venue or Vivo Active series is really these extra buttons right here. There are a lot of similarities between the Forerunner 165 and the Vivo Active 5 on many different levels, and also a lot of differences. I'm probably going to make a video dedicated to just that because it's pretty darn confusing. But the general gist of it is that this watch is focused on the sports side, and the Vivo Active 5 series is focused on kind of like that middle ground of being like an all-purpose consumer smartwatch. So some slight differences there, but they are incredibly slight. But buttons is one of those main differences. Flipping over the watch to the back, you've got the optical heart rate sensor. This is used for, of course, your heart rate during workouts as well as 24/7. It's also used for a bunch of different other metrics like body battery and SpO2 or blood oxygen levels and things like that. This is Garmin's Elevate V4 optical heart rate sensor, which isn't their newest optical heart rate sensor. The main feature you're not going to get in this watch, though, is ECG, which you would find with the Gen 5 sensor. Now, you'll also see on the back, these are quick release straps, 20mm straps, as you can see kind of right there, just on an angle. This means you can swap any 20mm strap you want in this if you'd like, just by simply popping off that little bit right there. Now, flipping it back over to the front, you've got your watch face. You can customize this watch face a number of different ways. The first is on the watch itself by holding this middle button down for a couple seconds, and then go to watch face, and you can change to different watch faces like you see right here. These are some of the built-in watch faces. There's a bunch of them here, but you can also download watch faces from Garmin's Connect IQ App Store. You can make your own watch face. You can put your kid's picture on there or your own picture or whatever you want. You got quite a bit of customization on watch face. In fact, I would argue there's really no brand out there that has as much watch face customization as Garmin does, not only from the watch faces themselves, but you can change all the different data fields you want on there as well. By just holding that middle button again, watch face, tap this upper right-hand button right there, choose Customize, and then choose layout and data, and then you go down and you can see it's changing the different metrics at the top up there, and you can do this for each one of the different things that you see on that watch face, again, suiting it to whatever you want. One of the things you're going to notice in a couple seconds is this screen will turn off. The reason for that is Garmin has basically 2 modes here, always on display or gesture-based display. Always on display means that the screen is always on when it's on your wrist. When I put it on the table like this, it just turns off like that because it detects it's not my wrist and it's going to save battery. Versus gesture-based display will turn off my wrist is down, and as I raise my wrist up, it'll turn back on again. It used to be that Garmin's gesture-based display was a bit slow and kind of, well, just slow. Now it's pretty darn good. I don't really have any problems with it. Still, I do prefer the always-on display, and what that means is that while it's always on, it's dimmed at this state here, and then as I raise my wrist up, it goes into full brightness mode. You can change that if you want to. It's super easy. Just go back into the settings again, long hold the middle button for a second, go on down into System at the very bottom here. There we go. And then go down to Display. And I know I could have done that backwards, by the way, but I just like doing it the other way. And go to General Use, and then you'll see Always On Display is toggled on in my case. You can also change the brightness. The default level is 2/3. I find that plenty bright, and honestly, you get more battery life if you go down to the 1/3 setting there. I'll put the battery life on the screen somewhere right here as well, so you can go ahead and see that. Backing out of here, though, I want to call attention to something that's of note. If you go up to the very top, you see large fonts, just under the display settings. What this does is it increases the display font size across, well, the entire display, and most things anyways. Just makes it a little bit easier to see. If I toggle that on, watch how it increases it just a little bit. It's not a ton, but it's a little bit that helps, especially if your eyesight may not be so awesome. This might help you out. Now, use this button right here to go back. In general, the buttons are pretty straightforward. This upper button here confirms things. This one goes back, it escapes, if you will. And on this side here, you have your up button and your down button, and then you have a button up here for turning on the light, the display, on or off. You can see kind of a dim state and then a full brightness state, as well as accessing the controls menu by just simply long holding like this, and you get into this controls menu. We'll talk about this more in just a second, though. Now, backing out here, want to go down to the widgets. You'll access the widgets by pressing the bottom button right there, and all of these widgets are customizable. So these are technically the widget glances, and if I crack one of them open, for example, if I go down to steps, we're going to find that for a second here, where we are, steps right there, I tap on this, and this opens up the full widget view. And you can see my steps over the course of the day, this being my run right there. And if I go down, you can see steps over the last 7 days, and you can see distance over the last 7 days as well. And you tap back, and it's back up the top there. So again, the smaller bits here are widget glances, so you can kind of glance at things and see more information. And the bigger bit there is the full-on widget. Now you can order these, you can change these, you can add more of them, both Garmin ones as well as third-party ones there. If you just were to long hold this for a second, you'll see it allows you to reorder this glance. You can move it up and down, you can get rid of it altogether, you can add a glance, and so on. And you can also change the options for this as well for the default race estimate. So for example, if you went back, you saw it showed my default race estimate is 5K. We'll talk about all the sports stuff later on though in the sports section, but I could change that if I wanted to. Going down here, you see some of the main widgets that I have. I'm just going to talk briefly about a few of them, and then we'll dive into more details in just a second. Okay, and a quick note, if you are finding this video interesting or useful, if you could whack that like button, or even better, the subscribe button, that really does help out this video and the channel quite a bit. And it lets YouTube know that you are enjoying this, and they'll recommend it to other people as well. And the first one we're to look at here is your sleep data. The watch will automatically track all of your sleep stats for you. You don't have to do anything, you just fall asleep and you wake up. I find that generally speaking, the Garmin Forerunner watches are very, very good at detecting when I fall asleep and when I woke up. No real problems there. In terms of sleep phases and sleep stages, like you'll see if I crack this open, I don't really trust any watch for that because the data behind that is iffy at best. And even like the so-called gold standard data is pretty iffy as far as like accuracy, only at best in the mid 80% range. So I wouldn't overthink this too much. It does impact some of these metrics, but not to the extent that it really seems to matter too much for me and how I use the watch. Now, going on down here, this is the very first screen. This is my sleep score at the top, so 78 for last night, which feels about right. You can see the duration of sleep and the sleep quality. If I tap this upper right-hand button, I can see a sleep insight as well. It says my sleep was a bit short, but you had good deep sleep. Sleep like this is critical for boosting your immune system and repairing your body. You're not going to get like any, earth-shattering insights here, but these might be kind of useful if you're not as familiar with the impact of sleep on the rest of your life. My guess, though, is if you made it this far in life, you probably know that more sleep is better and less sleep hurts. Nonetheless, going on back here, down one, you can see these are my sleep stages, deep, light, REM, and awake, and you can see the color coding at the bottom. These are the bits that I mentioned earlier on that I don't put a ton of trust in, but they're there if you like it. Here's a different view of that same stat. And one more time here, you can see the sleep stages over the past week. Tapping once more at the bottom, you see my sleep score over the past week as well. Generally going up minus whatever happened on Monday or so, but beyond that, this is probably about as good as it's going to get for me on a typical week. Now, one of the features we saw Garmin add into this watch compared to past Forerunners or past lower-end Forerunners is nap tracking. So back in my widgets here, you see naps. And of course, I did the hard thing today and I took a nap, probably an unnecessary nap, but I just wanted to have it for this data. I also took it, we ended up being a little long than I wanted because once you start, just keep on going. So cracking this open right here, you can see it tracked my nap for 1 hour and 41 minutes from 9:48 a.m. to 11:29 a.m. You'll notice at the bottom, it isn't thrilled about my nap because it was just too long, and says because my nap was so long, I'm going to feel a bit groggy or disoriented. Yeah, I don't know, it felt pretty darn good after my nap, but I think this is generally true. You generally do feel a bit groggy if your nap is too long, but I'm not complaining. Up here at the top right-hand side, you can go and start a nap as well. So if you hadn't taken a nap, you would then see basically the option just to start the nap without the other data there. And when you start a nap, what's going to do is ask if you want to set a nap timer, in other words, to hopefully wake up from that nap. I didn't set that, which is why I went for 90 minutes. I'm going to choose no, though, and then you'll see it dims the display into the sleep mode. This is the same display dimness that you're going to see when you have the watch at night using the automatic sleep mode. And then you see it turned off entirely. So the way this works on all Garmin AMOLED displays is they go into a super dim mode that doesn't like brighten blow your face away in the middle of the night if you raise your wrist up. I've had no problems with this on this watch or any other Garmin watches using this sleep mode. You can turn this off though by just simply holding the upper left-hand button and go into the controls and then find the little sleep icon right there. Tap this and it turns it off. You see the display brighten back up when I did that. You can also, of course, change the settings for sleep mode. Again, middle button there. I'm going to go backwards this time for fun, into system, and then down into sleep mode right there. And then you'll see the schedule, the watch face being that sleep watch face that I prefer. the display, nap alarm, and do not disturb. The main thing here is this schedule. So you can see I have it set from 11:15 p.m. to 8 a.m. The watch is still totally usable. It just has that dim display for that first page there. And then I can change one of these. I can change, for example, you'll notice on the weekend I go a little bit later. But let's say I want to say the weekend here, instead of being 11:15, it's going to be 22. It doesn't really matter, right? And then I just confirm this wake up time here, and then confirm it again. And it asks, do you want to apply this to more days? And I say, sure, I'll apply it to Sunday as well, and then confirm that. Now it's set both of those there. Again, sleep mode is super cool. It will ask you to set this up by default the first time you open up the watch, and I would definitely recommend you do it. Now, the next tracking bit that you're going to see that comes from your sleep is your HRV tracking, or heart rate variability. So I'm going to go down here. I see HRV status. You can see right now it's in the balanced range. There's basically 3 different buckets there. If I crack this open, 4 different buckets, sorry. There's a red zone at the bottom. There's 2 orange zones, and there's a green zone in the middle. This is your personal HRV, or heart rate variability range. This will vary. Every single person is different. My wife is very different than mine. One of my best friends is very, very different than mine, quite a bit lower in that scale, because it's based on your data day to day. I know it's easy to look at this and be like, this is what I should get. Just trust me, everyone's different. Generally speaking though, the lower the number, the worse it is, and the higher the number, the better it is, sorry. So if you have like an HRV score of like 15 per night, that's probably not very good. The last time I've had an HRV score in the teens was I was very, very sick with COVID like a couple years ago, and that was the last time that happened. Otherwise, it basically just kind of hangs out in the middle there for me. The thing is, HRV, or heart rate variability, is impacted by a lot of things. It's impacted by fatigue and alcohol and drugs and how much sleep you get, and both drugs, good drugs and bad drugs, by the way, however you want to define that. All those things will impact this in a whole bunch of different ways, jet lag, etc. So for example, if I were to have 3 or 4 glasses of wine tonight, that'd be a lot of wine for me, but if I were to have that much, I would expect to see my HRV score tomorrow probably in the upper 30s to low 40s, but it's trending this over longer periods of time. You really want to trend your HRV data over vast sums of time. In fact, this little chart here won't show up in full until you have 19 sleeps with this watch, 19 nights worth of sleep. You'll still see your 7-day average, and you'll see the data down below for last night, for example, on the very first night that you use it. And you'll see this next one here, the 7-day average, as you build that up over time. But this little plot right here, this is my baseline, that green kind of tunnel, if you will, my norm. That takes that 19 days to start, and then it takes a ton of data from there on out, so it's constantly adjusting that range, as you can see right here. In total, I use HRV as a bit of a gut check as to whether or not I'm feeling good over longer periods of time. So if I'm seeing my HRV down in the low 40s, then I know there's probably something that's contributing to that, whether it be stress or work or all sorts of other things that's causing that. Versus if I see it in the, right this now, mid 50s and the lowest 60s, that means life is probably pretty relaxed, and I'm probably getting a good amount of sleep and a good balance between workouts and sleep and drinking and whatever else the case may be. So next there's body battery. I'm going to show you that. I've got this kind of positioned a little differently so you can see the live stats on it. I go down here to body battery. You can see it's currently at 29, and I gained 72 since midnight, and I've lost 66. So this is showing my last 12 hours of data, and I can look at the last 4 hours of data, and you can see all the different coloring. Those are different activities. So if I go down again one more time, you'll see these are the factors. So I had a bike ride. This is when I was commuting out to pick up the kids from basically school for the day. So you can see that had an impact of -2. Pretty easy. It's a cargo bike ride, an electric cargo bike, so not really a big heart rate impact there. But I got my interval run today. That's down 12. I've got some rest period, just basically just actually hanging out, working. I've got a nap that I did earlier, and you can see that increased it by 6. And then my sleep from this morning increased it by 61. And so if I tap on these, you can see restful nap. This restful nap recharges your body battery. If I look at sleep, brings me to sleep stats and so on. And again, you can go back up here and then tap this, and then you can also go ahead and change settings or pan that chart. Now, the last thing that we're going to get on the sleep frontier is the morning report, which is something you'll see every morning when you wake up automatically. The morning report will basically say good morning to you, and from there you can go ahead and see information about your sleep last night, your HRV, as well as steps and a few other tidbits of information. I really like it. The morning report on the Forerunner 165 shows less information than something like a Forerunner 265 or a Forerunner 965 and so on. Those have additional training metrics that are shown. But you can customize these metrics. So if I go back here, hold the middle button again, go down into appearance right there. You go down into morning report. I can turn it on or off entirely if I want to. I can go to edit report right there, and I can change what I have in there. So sleep, HRV status, recovery, workouts, weather, calendar, and I can add to it body battery, intensity, minutes, steps, and that's really it. So if I were to add body battery to it, I can go and choose that at the bottom, done, and then I'm good to go. And then I'll see that on the next day as I wake up. Now, also in this appearance section here is the controls menu. So if I go back to appearance, you'll see there I've got the watch face, I've got glances, those are the widgets that we saw earlier on, and I've got controls. These are controls that I can access by holding this upper left-hand button right there. So I can add these or adjust these as I see fit, including the flashlight we'll talk about. I can add new, and here's some of the other options you have right there. So for example, broadcasting heart rate if I want to, or music controls, and so on. Now, going on back here to the controls menu, I hold this upper left-hand button for a second, and you can see this controls menu. These are just quick access ways to get to things. So I can toggle sleep mode on and off right away. So if I want to have an early bedtime, I can toggle it off there, and then boom, it'll basically silence notifications, it'll dim the display, and all that kind of goodness. You can also see I can access my wallet there. I'm going to show you the Garmin Pay a little bit later on. I can lock the device. For example, I'm going to go skiing this weekend. I can have this locked so my coat doesn't do any funky things there and open stuff up and close stuff. Just lock your device as a general rule of thumb when you have a coat over something so it doesn't do funky stuff. And then I've got a flashlight. My favorite feature, I show this every time, so you're going to see it again here. If I crack this open, you've got basically the last mode I was in, which is the red light mode. But I can go ahead and hit once to go into the lowest level of white light, one more level again, and one more level again. And this is pretty darn bright. It doesn't have the dedicated flashlight like you would see on Garmin's Fenix or Instinct lineup or Epix on the upper edge right there. Instead, it's just using a display. But this is more than bright enough to get around a room and illuminate whatever the heck you want to illuminate, like within a small range anyways, to get around in a house or a hotel or something like that. So this is handy, and I can just back out of this like this, and it'll save that setting. So you need to see now save there those 3 rings as opposed to the red light that I had. I typically prefer the red light option just because that way it doesn't blind myself in the middle of the night when I use it, but that's there for you. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and dive into the sport modes a bit. So back on the watch face here, you will always access sport modes by pressing this upper right-hand button right there. Tap that, and boom, you see your favorite sport modes at the top. Now, if I scroll down through this here, you see those first 4 or so there, more favorites right here, and I keep on going, and I can add more sport modes right there. So I can go through all these usual sport modes right here on this watch that you can add and kind of rearrange. And I'll put a list on the bottom of the screen there as well. And also, you can add other third-party app sport modes too. So different apps like Stride for their Stride running pod, you could add to this if you wanted to. But I'm going to click on back here once, go back again. I'm going to go back in the beginning and then choose Run, kind of the most basic option right here. And it's asking me, you want to get ready for my race day? We'll talk about races in just a second here, and daily suggested workouts and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to hit escape there, but you see today's suggestion is rest. And that's because I've already done my workout for today. If I were to tap this upper right-hand button there, I can see more suggestions for this upcoming next little while. So it says another rest day tomorrow. I did maybe a bit today and yesterday. And then Friday base, lots of base stuff. And here's a structured workout for next Tuesday. This is, well, not that structured. You usually get some pretty complex stuff, but I just loaded a race plan on here, so it's starting off kind of basic, and then I'll kind of go from there. And you see it suggests what the different zones are, and the heart rates, and so on, and the whole point of it. So in this case, sustain high-intensity efforts for longer, and so on. So escaping out of this for a second, I'm going to say no to today's suggestion, and now I'm at the run screen, basically to start a workout. And this is true for pretty much all the workout types. It doesn't matter if it's run or bike or swim, etc. For the most part, they're all basically the same here. Now, if I hold this middle button there, I can get into run settings. This up here allows me to change my data screens, so I can crack this open. You can see by default, these are the ones you get, 4 different data fields, and I can customize those fields by pressing this upper right-hand button. I can choose the layout I want, so I can say, you know what, I want less data fields on this page, or I like this page, and I want to go ahead and now choose the data fields on it. The one that's blinking is the one I want to change. So then I say, yep, change that. You can see timer, distance, pace fields, heart rate fields, running dynamics, cadence, pace pro, power fields, that's running power, temperature, elevation, other fields, etc., graphical fields. I can say, you know what? I want to have one of the running dynamics pages right there, ground contact time, cadence, heart rate gauge. Yeah, let's go with heart rate gauge instead. Even though I had it on the bottom, so that wasn't really super bright on my fault. My part there, distance, pace, yep, we're good with that. I've really messed this one up now. And I'm just going to go back to there. And now I've got 2 gauges there. It's wonky, but don't worry about it. I just want to show you how this worked. Going back again though, you can change alerts in here. You can add new alerts, heart rate alerts, run walk alerts, pace alerts, time alerts, distance, running power, cadence, elevation, proximity, so as you get closer to saved things, cadence, and so on. And then you can change your laps. For example, auto lap to be based on distance. For example, right now I have it every 1 kilometer. And I can also set my lap key will change the automatic lap as well. And then I can change the lap alert. So when this happens, when you go across that 1 kilometer marker, or anytime you hit the lap button, this is your lap time and your total time. I actually probably would prefer here to change this to be lap pace instead. And then you can see the preview would look like this. So lap 1, and this would be my lap time and my lap pace there. Not too great because I'm sitting still here, but this is just how that would look, looking like that. And of course, I'm in kilometers right now. You can change it to miles as well. There's no problem swapping back and forth. Running power is on. So running power is built into this watch automatically. You don't do anything other than just run. And it uses the altimeter to figure that out, along with things like the wind forecast and so on. So that's on there. If you'd like to broadcast your heart rate, this probably isn't super useful in a running context, but is more useful in a indoor cycling context. For example, if you're on a Peloton bike or using Zwift, you can turn this on, and now it'll broadcast your heart rate across both AMP Plus as well as Bluetooth Smart. So I don't have it on for the run profile, but I do have it on for the indoor bike profile. That way, just the second I tap this, you'll see it automatically on the screen of whatever app or other device you're using, including, for example, a Garmin Edge cycling unit, or really any cycling GPS out there will accept one of those 2 standards. And then you have your GPS connectivity type. This watch does not have what's so-called dual frequency or multi-band GPS in it. As you saw in my in-depth review, it doesn't matter. Garmin's all systems GPS is so good. It easily beats the vast majority of other companies' higher end dual frequency or multi-band configurations. And it's virtually identical to Garmin's own dual frequency or multi-band configuration. So I wouldn't fret about that. I would just keep it on all systems. That's where you want to be. Note that Ultra Track here at the bottom, despite having that ultra name, is not about ultra good accuracy. You don't want to choose this at all, even though, like it just says, they're lower accuracy. This is if you're going on a very, very, very long hike, like many hours, like 30 plus 40-hour hike, and you need this extra battery there. That will help you on that, but definitely do not enable it for any of those scenarios. And even that scenario, if you're doing that on the regular, I would either bring a charger with you or choose a different watch. This gives you horrific GPS tracks, and it's like every couple minutes it goes ahead and saves your data point. So that's not a good place to be. Anyways, going down from there, you've got the training option. This is where you can load in structured workouts. So workouts that you create on Garmin Connect or that are pushed to this watch from apps and platforms like Training Peaks or Trainer Road or anything like that pushes those structured workouts from your coach, etc., into this watch. You can also create your own intervals here, as well as create your own intervals on Garmin Connect. If I crack open the intervals option, you'll see this is a customized interval that I can change. I can say I want to edit this workout. Instead of doing 6 by 400 meters, I'm going to do 6 by, let's just say 800 meters. So just change this right there. There we go. And I can ensure that I've got the warm-up right there. The warm-up, as you're doing it, you just simply tap that to basically transition from warm-up into the actual structural workout side of it. There we go. And now if I look back here, you see those are the 8 by 800s instead. Now I'm gonna go and start a workout here. I'm gonna do this one for fun, right? We'll do workout. There we go. Basically back at this screen here, you'll see your heart rate there as well. If you don't have GPS lock before you start your workout, it's gonna take a whole heck of a lot longer. GPS lock should only take like 3 to 5 seconds. So if it doesn't, then something else is wrong. Usually that means that your watch isn't connected to your phone, so it's not downloading what's called a satellite precache file. That happens roughly every 3 to 7 days. So that stays for quite a while. You don't take your phone with you at all, just to be super clear here. But as long as when you get back from your run, it'll download that file, and it means you'll find satellites quite a bit faster. In any case, I'm gonna press the start button there, and you can see now it's in the warm-up because I had that structured workout in that warm-up there. And if I go down here, I can see my other data pages, including my wonky dual heart rate one. And go down again, you can see this other data page I have with lap time, lap distance, lap pace. Go down again, you can see my running power here, current power as well as average power. You can see the time of the day, and again, I can customize these, add more data pages if I want to, back in that data page setup. Now in this case, because I'm in that structured workout, if I were to tap this lower right-hand button here, it would exit warm-up and now go into the first 800 meter section of 1 by 800 meters. And then what you'll see there is this will start counting down from 800 meters down to whatever. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. And then once you're done with this, you'll tap this upper right-hand button to go ahead and pause this. Now, you can do this if you're not necessarily done with the run, but just need to go to the bathroom or get ice cream in the middle of the run or whatever the case may be. And this allows you to go ahead and to tap again to resume it, to save it, to resume later. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and discard this though, because I don't really need to save this quick little one. Instead, I'm just going to show you what that data page looks like at the end of the workout from today's workout that I did. So here is a 8.4 kilometer run I did with a bunch of intervals. And if I look on down here once, you can see here's all these little intervals, basically 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy, over and over again. Did this with my wife. It was her structured workout for the day, and I just was along for the ride. Going on down, you can see my heart rate over the course of that workout. Down again, you can see my heart rate zones. You can see my running power zones, elevation. I live in the Netherlands. It's a pancake. I was out in the fields there, so you can see that pancake there. Go down again. You can see the training effect, so anaerobic. If I tap this upper right-hand button here, it'll show all my stats as well. Before we do that, go down once more, and normally I would see recovery time there. If you do this at the very end of a workout, you'll see recovery time shown there. But in this case, since I'm pulling up from history, I won't see that. But here's what you'll see at the end of the workout right there. And I can also access all stats up here and look at training effect and so on. So all stats, for example, shows you my run time, my walk time, because there was some walk time between each intervals. Going on down, idle time, basically standing still for a couple seconds, running metrics, and so on. And the cool part is all these run dynamics metrics are here within the watch. I don't need a separate strap for that or anything like that. I didn't have a strap with this at all today, just the watch itself. Now, let's talk about that recovery time for a quick second. Going back to the main page here, into this widget glances, and you can see recovery right there, 31 hours, crack that open. And the thing to keep in mind here is that this is really 31 hours until your next hard workout, especially next hard running workout. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do other easier workouts until then. So this will decrease over time, and this will change if you had really good sleep, for example, or a very low stress day. It'll go down. And if you had a high stress day or really crappy sleep, it'll actually go up. So this does dynamically change throughout the day, and you'll get an alert if there's a major swing in this, either up or down. It'll basically pop up on the watch and say, hey, things are changing, good news, and here bad news, and here's why. Now, one of the last sport items to note here is this one right there, which is basically my performance scores, my VO2 max score. So this is my estimated 5K time, my estimated VO2 max at the top. If I tap this open, you can see 54 based on today and other historical data. It does take a while for this to change though. So mine is still kind of climbing back up again. But if I go down here, you can see my 5K race prediction. And this is definitely heavily influenced by the types of workouts that you do. If you're doing mostly just kind of steady state without a lot of intensity, you may not see this number change very much. You really need some good tempo runs in there and some good longer runs to make these numbers get changed quite a bit. And I've done a lot of interval runs lately and a lot of kind of just steady state general stuff, but not a lot of great tempo or long runs. So these numbers are probably a little bit low at the moment for me, like low in they're showing a bit slower than they should normally, if that makes sense. If I tap this here in the upper right hand corner, I can go from 5K to 10K to half in a marathon. And again, these will adjust over time. Do ensure though that your watch weight, height, and gender is correct, because these are all based on existing data and science data that drives these estimates. And so if that data isn't correct, then these numbers won't be correct either. Okay, the last sport thing I do want to show you is sensors really quick. Just tip back a few times, go back into the settings menus here, go on down until you see sensors and accessories, and this is where you can add sensors. So I can go add new, I can add an external heart rate strap, ANT Plus or Bluetooth Smart. And the same is true for all these. FootPod, headphones is for Bluetooth headphones only. Lights, that's cycling lights, cycling radar, cycling speed and cadence sensor, and the Tempe external temperature sensor. This does record temperature from the wrist, but obviously that'll be impacted by your body temperature. It's not designed for measuring your wrist temperature. It's designed for measuring the ambient temperature, but your wrist will impact that, and you probably understand the basics of that. So that is sensors there. You can save multiple types of sensors. You can have, for example, multiple heart rate straps saved, or multiple bike sensors for different bikes, and so on. Now with that, let's go ahead and look at offline music, as well as Garmin Pay, their offline or basically contactless payment system. So for music, you can either put MP3 files on this, or you can use offline streaming services, including Spotify, Amazon Music, and Deezer. To get those services set up, you're gonna go down here until you see the music option. You can see it right there. And the very first time you do this, it'll ask you if you wanna set up one of those services, and it basically just links it up to your account. So in my case, I've linked up Spotify because that's the account that I have. And then you can choose to add music or podcasts. So you can see add music and podcasts. You can say playlists, and now it's going to pull from your account and the playlist that you have there. So in a couple seconds, you'll see this, and it'll populate these icons as well, slowly but surely. It's not super fast. There we go, slowly going through this. And you would tap to go ahead and save that entire playlist. For these streaming music services, you can't choose to download individual songs, just entire playlists. But the cool part is those playlists are dynamically updated. So if you're looking at different playlists that may change every week or every few days, anytime you plug in your watch, it'll go ahead and start updating that playlist and download those songs. So that's what I did here. If I go back once again, up to Pump Pop, which is a music playlist, and then the Fit File podcast, which is a podcast that I do with DesFit. We talk about all sorts of sports technology stuff. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out because, yeah, it's pretty cool. Up at the top here, though, if I choose Pump Pop, it'll now go ahead and basically ask to connect to my headphones. So here are my headphones right there. Take these out. And you just pair these like any other sensor in the sensors menu that I showed you earlier on. In the case of AirPods, you're basically going to hold this button on the back there with all this stuff in there, by the way. So just have this in there, open up, press the button in the back, and it'll show up. And now I can press play. It's going to search for my AirPods. There we go, connected. And then it should start playing as soon as I press play again. And you could probably hear these. There we go. If I put it next to the microphone, I don't want to get like a takedown request, but you can hear that right there plays. And then I can just press this button to go on to the next one. I can press pause up here, or I can press this middle button to change other settings like shuffle, repeat, previous, volume, and then go back to my library. And if you have controls on your headphones, that will change that as well. So they'll all control this. So you can do the different tap controls and stuff like that. And it does control this just fine. I haven't had any problems with these. Basically, these are the AirPods Pro, but for the most part, virtually all of Garmin's newer watches work great with all of the headphones that are out there today. There was a time period a few years ago where that was like not a great thing between these two things, and didn't work that well. Now, I just want to show you something that popped up right now, which is your daily summary. This pops up basically 2 hours before your scheduled bedtime. So in this case, it just showed this, and this basically says, kind of a recap of your day. Right now it says this is a workout day. Your intense workout today and periods of rest are good for your physical health and mental health. Take time to relax and focus on getting a good night's sleep or good sleep. So I can go ahead and view details on this. And I can basically track me back into the body battery page where I see all my battery stats. You can turn this off if you don't want to see this. You'll find it's kind of repetitive over time, but it is there for you. Okay, so the very last thing we're going to look at is contactless payments using Garmin Pay. This allows you to load credit cards onto this watch with supported banks. It's really important to understand this is not all Visa cards or all MasterCards, whatever the case is. It's based on your specific bank. So in my case, I have Chase cards loaded on this, but I do live in the Netherlands, and actually just recently we finally got ING Bank supported in the Netherlands, which is one of my other banks here, and that's now supported as well to add to this. So you'll add this using your smartphone. You go ahead and add it basically in there, add your credit card to it, and then from there you can access that by pressing this upper left-hand button once. There we go, or hold it there, sorry. To get the controls menu, you go into the wallet, enter your passcode, mine is secret. And note that if you have this on your wrist, then it won't ask for the passcode every single time, only once you take it off your wrist. Then you've got your contactless payment reader that you'd find at any store. It's standardized pretty much across the world. I think I've still got battery left on this. Device blocked. What's it so unhappy about? Oh, it's unhappy. Well, I can't show you that. So you've got your contactless payment reader. All you do is just go boop, and it goes boop, and then you're done paying. It's as simple as that. Like, it's not complicated. It works very well. It's the same thing that's been on Garmin's devices for many, many years, and virtually the same as other companies out there. Again, your bank does have to be supported. Garmin does have a huge list page of all the banks that are supported. Generally speaking, in the US, no problems. Across Europe, it's kind of like hit or miss. Some countries have way more support and other countries have less support. And again, kind of the same true for the rest of the world. Anyways, hopefully you found this useful and interesting. If so, go ahead and whack that like button or subscribe for plenty more sports technology goodness. There's always more to come. With that, have a good one.